Part 8 of the Corvette build. This time we're going to be working mostly on the body. We're going to work on getting that LS computer installed. Also worked on the battery tray. Moved the battery over to the passenger side. And we had some issues with the chassis. So let's get started. So I'm working on a mounting location for the PCM. This is the plastic bracket out of the 4th gen F-body. It sits up on the passenger side fender in the engine compartment. Bolts down here and it slips in here. So what I think I'm going to do, I think this will fit here. If I go and cut the top here, I can mount 2 bolts through here, bend a flange so that this will slip down into it, and that'll hold it securely to the fender. This aluminum is the perfect thickness. If I put a step in there, I'll be able to rivet this plate to the fender, and then that'll give room for this to slide down over it. This is from here, this is a 1/4 inch height. So I need to get all of it to be a little bit more than that so that it'll sit flat. So to do that, I'm gonna start about here, and I'm gonna cut this off. I want to retain the corner for some strength. Okay, that'll be a good start. Using this little brake and the vise, I put the bend in there so I can receive the bracket. So you mount this flat to the fender, and then there's still room for that to slide in. So what you'll do is you'll slide that on, and then I'll put 2 holes here and mount it to the fender, and that'll be solid. Then you can slide the computer in. So I'm relocating the battery to behind the passenger seat, and since there's no way to hold the battery down in there, I bought this battery tray, and my plan is to make this fit and bolt it down inside that compartment, and then the retainers will hold it in place. The problem is it's too wide. The battery fits very well in here, and I think one of these tabs will fit, but I'm gonna have to cut off the other tab to make it fit down in that hole. So I put the body back on the chassis, and I've ran into a problem. Can you see how this is not parallel with this? It gets worse. The forward 3 body mounts are bolted and torqued down. If you look in here, watch the gap get bigger and bigger. And there's an 1.1/8 gap there. That body mount should be touching to compress that mount. So I think the back of this frame is bent. So we're going to take it to the frame rack and get it straightened up. Alright, I mounted the feed throughs from this box out into the tunnel. I made there's the negative battery cable. I brought it down. I put that riv nut in the frame, and I also tack welded it. I wanted to make sure that there was a really good ground there. So then we ran just like the factory. I will come back and I'm going to weld studs in to put those on, but I can do that when the body's off the chassis. It'll be easier. And we brought that up, connected into the starter. I also went ahead and ran the alternator wire across the front, and then also powered the fuse block. So now all the power outside of the battery box is hooked up. Next I'll go and I'll finish the battery tray and get those cables built. I don't remember where I salvaged these studs from, but I think they'll be perfect to put in here, weld them in, and then attach the clamps on the other side for the battery cable. Alright, got the battery box modified and fit and painted up and now riveted into place. On the bottom side, you can see I made these plates so that the rivets can't pull through, and then riveted it in place. And here's what it looks like with the battery bolted in. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. So I have to take the car back to the body shop because they didn't get the rear part of the frame, but they want the body with it this time, and I don't have the supports in the front to support the nose when it's traveling. So I'm going to put the radiator core supports back in the car and rivet them in with 3/16 steel rivets. Got the chassis back from the body shop, and they've gotten it all straightened out for me. So you can see now the body mounts line up where they're supposed to. So now I can actually go through and shim the body. This body has never been on this chassis before, so we have to go around to all 8 mounts and shim and try to get the door gaps correct. So that was one cycle, taking the body off, putting it back, adding the shims, putting it back on, and torquing everything down. Unfortunately, I still don't like that door gap, so we're gonna have to do it again. So in this part, we got the computer installed and a lot of wiring hooked up. So you see we also made some battery cables, ran those battery cables and hooked them up to the motor. We also modified the battery tray, got it fit and riveted into the car. One thing I didn't show in the video was I also made the short battery cables for inside the box here. So you can see the feed throughs that feed out into the tunnel. And we had some issues with the chassis. Had to take it to the body shop twice to get it straightened. The first time they took the twist out of it, but they didn't get the rear body mounts raised up. So the second time we went back and they got that fixed. Something I haven't talked about is a shifter. I ordered this MGW shifter, which is special for the TR6060, and I think it's going to place the shifter in the right location inside the car. And in future video, we'll start working on getting that tunnel rebuilt and see how the shifter fits. So that'll do it for this part. Thanks for watching.